How long are you willing to wait? And what is the cost of keep waiting, not doing the right thing for your relationship, for the experience that actually matters in your life? Often, the matter of relationships, especially when there are trouble at home, it is an issue that we do not think it's important. But I want to share an experience of one of my clients. He had been going through some issues in his marriage. Most important, it is an issue that has been going on for years. In essence, he called his relationship toxic for quite some time. So you can imagine if you live in an environment where the air is polluted, it is obvious that over time, that pollution is going to affect your health. We see it all over the world, everywhere, where air pollution, noise pollution is an issue. People have emotional issues along with it. And the cost of productivity is even higher. But for my client, he's been in a relationship or in marriage relationship for almost 20 years. But for all these 20 years, things has not been rosy. They have just been surviving. And most marriage are in that survival mode. And it's not probably a problem. It is not a surprise, probably it's true for your case. So when this client came to me, I will call him John for the purpose of this conversation. When he approached me about his situation, he was skeptical about it. First, he called me. He booked a call. I called him back. We had a conversation, and it was a very good conversation, about an hour conversation, just to kind of measure where he is and see if what I use as a model will fit for his situation. And I kind of laid out a plan, as most of you probably who have been in a call with me have heard. So I lay out the plan, which is for him, most people, for the first time when they encounter this type of coaching, it's a 12-week program, because it needs time. You have been implanting on yourself negative things. If you have a farm that is filled with weeds, you cannot just take that weeds overnight. Imagine of your lawn. For those who have lawn, it takes time to cultivate it to become a perfect lawn, that green, beautiful green lawn. I've bought a house before where I found myself in that situation. It was a foreclosure house. So cultivating that lawn to make it green perfect, it took us some time. It wasn't just one summer. It was multiple summers. Eventually, we had a perfect green grass because we invested time and money in it. And most people, that's what they think they're missing. And for my client, John, was feeling that when I gave him a 12-week plan, he's like, oh man, I don't know. And then after that, when we talk about the price, he said, no, the price, man, I don't know if I can afford and everything else. So I don't like to pressure people. If you're ready to change, you will ready to invest. That's my philosophy. I've been there before when I didn't feel like I needed to invest money because I was too cheap. Keep saying I don't have the money, but I was enduring the pain and I was not willing to invest to heal myself. So I suffered for quite some time until when I was ready. Nobody had to pressure me. Actually, the first, when myself, I seek help. When I sought after the help, guess what? When I had that call, I was sold. Because I needed the help. I was desperate of seeking assistance. And often we think that assistance have to come cheap. Ask LeBron James, his personal coach. How much does he pay for his personal coach? Ask Steph Curry, and each and every athlete and everybody who have been successful. Ask them how much are they paying for their personal coach. Actually, I call it how much they are investing, because the coaching is, you should invest on yourself or on the program in question, but you should have a return that is greater than the investment you've made. So I call it an investment. And most people, when I'm having a conversation, I'm like, are you willing to invest on yourself? Because I'm determined, I'm committed to be able to give you a return greater than the investment you've made. And so was John. And John kind of felt like, oh, if I have to do this payment for 12 weeks, that means it's costing me a particular dollar every week. I said, that's the fact. So I asked John, I said, John, did you go to school? Because he's a trader by profession. I said, did you go to school? He said, yeah. And I wasn't kind of condescending because I just wanted, because he told me who he was, what he's doing for professional. So I wanted just to kind of put the perspective in place. I said, how was your tuition then? How much are you still paying today? And how did that translate in terms of monetary value? That did you invest in it, and how much money have you gotten back? And he said, oh, but that's you have to have that education. I said, you have to have a happy life. You have to have a peaceful life. You have to have, just like you think you have to have this particular perspective of, you gotta go to school and you have to pay for it. Guess what? You have to have the lifestyle that is meaningful to you. I can guarantee you, where you are today, you're not comfortable. You're not at peace. And if you don't have peace, you're not there yet. So I told John. And he said, give me some time. So I gave him some time. And we did some follow-up with him, and he was quiet for some time, and I just left him alone. About 3 months later, John reached out again. I saw a booking call was booked, and I'm like, this name sounds familiar. And when I called, I'm like, okay. When he was telling me his story, I'm like, okay, is this John? And he's like, yeah. I said, okay, we've talked before. He said, yes, we did. And in this time, he said things have gotten worse. His wife has been really distanced from him. At the time when we were having the conversation, he had not had intimacy relationship with his wife for almost, it was going about 6 months. But he doesn't remember the time where they were truly intimate for over a couple few years. It was one of those things that I call it a rabbit sex or chicken sex, if you've ever seen it, where the cock just comes in and they're done and they're gone and everybody's shaking it and they're moving. And that was kind of, he says that's what he remembers. So there was not really intimacy. It was just kind of releasing that energy. And he said, you know what? It even got worse. His wife has got involved in multiple external marital relationship within that period of 6 months. So I said, okay. So I asked him, and it was a genuine question. So practically, you might not have not done that. But if your wife still have that emotional needs and you haven't fulfilled it for this long period of time, not because of something wrong, maybe let's say it's a health issue so that she can understand. It is because you just not willing to do the work. So if she can find somebody who's willing, what do you expect? But John was quiet and I just left it. We didn't have to answer that question. And in our conversation, John kind of brought up a few things. He told me that in the period of that period of time, because I wanted to know if he had seek any other help and how does that help have helped him? Did it add value? Did it help him to navigate through the challenges that he was facing? And John was very clear. He said, he had a therapy, and through that therapy, he'd been paying $250 for every sitting. I said, okay. And how often have you had? He said sometimes he found himself, he was desperately frustrated and he needed to talk to somebody. So occasionally he have done it twice a week, but normally he does it once a week. So I wanted to know, how did that help? He said nothing. He hasn't helped him. And he went to what we call it, do it yourself kind of coaching, where it's pure, just you go online and watch these videos, courses. For some people that works. It worked for me for some time when I was kind of venturing in coaching business and trying to break into marketing and understanding how the whole industry works. But when it comes to personal aspects, sometimes you need to have that personal touches. So he did that. I think he said he bought it for $50-something. And I said, so when I walked and I asked him, he realized, he brought it to me and said, no, none of that worked. And the therapist says it actually made him angry because he's always have to talk about his feelings and everything else. I said, so I kept it clean, like most probably of you who have been in the call with me. It's simple. My approach is, I use this what I call 3I framework. And in the 3I framework, we don't revisit the past. We don't revisit your pain and trying to regurgitate, because that's not where we are. Imagine yourself going somewhere, let's say you're going south, whatever that south is. And all of a sudden you find yourself that you actually had made a wrong turn and you're heading west instead of going south. You're not actually in the opposite direction, but you're actually in a tangible, you've kind of took a turn that was not appropriate. The more you keep focusing on going west, you will never get to south. You prolonged your arrival time to south where you are heading. So my approach is we just recognize the challenge, the 3I. So I kind of walked John through. I said, we're just recognizing, because it is from the pain point where we're actually creating a solution. That's the only reason we're actually visiting it, not to measure your feelings about it or anything else. And I said, okay, so this is what we do. But also John mentioned something else. He said he have gone to this guru and he've learned meditation. And none of them have worked. He've learned all these things. So he said, I'm frustrated. I don't think if you can be able to help me. I said, John, just give me the time to help you. After all, if I can't help you and you cannot, if you can demonstrate to me that I've given you the tools and resources and you have not been able to receive the assistance you need, guess what, John? I'm going to give you your money back. He said, oh, bad. And then he went and I said, I am. Because there's no point. My goal is to be able to help you. But if I give you the tools and resources, you're not applying them, that is not on me anymore, it's on you. So he said, okay. And I told him, so the 3I, the first I, we're just identifying the pain. Because growth comes from being deficiency. Progress comes from being out of progress. Alignment comes from out of misalignment. So problems is where things start. It's not a bad place, but it's a place where we begin. So I told him. And I said, I'm only identifying the issue so we can do the opposite. And that's what we call idealization. You have idealized something out of that which is wrong. And I said, the second step in our process is what I call introduction. You have identified yourself as a person who have bad relationship, high temper, frustration, miserable, and these things you tell to yourself every single day here. Nobody have to tell you these things, but you're telling yourself every single day. It is happening to you right now. When you think, I don't trust this guy, I don't believe in these things, you're actually telling yourself you're not ready to receive help. It is the opposite way or psychological way of trying to justify where you need to be where you are. Most people seem to be comfortable with their pain, and you are at that very place where it is comfortable to be painful. So John, I walked him through the idealization process, and then I walked him, the introduction process, which is the second part where you start re-identifying yourself with something different. Most important, that difference is the thing that you've idealized. And John started getting the point, and then iterate. Like I said, when I was fixing that lawn that we bought the house and fix it, we had to work on the lawn. We didn't just treat the lawn once. We had to keep retreating it to make sure that the weeds no longer have the strength to keep growing. And so is in your mind. If you keep telling me, so let's just set an example, because John had asked me this question. He said, oh, how can I just changing my mind going to change my circumstances? I said, okay, John, if you don't want to have this conversation now, you only have to tell yourself that I am no longer going to have this conversation. And I said, in fact, in our first conversation we had, when we were talking, when you asked me how much it's going to cost, the first thing you did, you say, thank you very much. You hang up because you said to yourself, you are not willing to pay for this particular program. So I said, if you told yourself you're not willing, guess what? You could not proceed having a conversation about that which you are not willing to. Your mind said something, that which you said to yourself dictated your behavior. The things you are saying to yourself today dictate your personality and your behavior around your partner. So it is no a surprise that you're experiencing what you experience simply because of that which you have told yourself. Yes, her behavior is independent but yet connected to your thoughts and feeling. John was always suspicious of his wife from the day one they got married. Whether it's because I tried to ask him whether he recalled in early days of their marriage or their dating time, she was promiscuous or anything else. What prompted him to feel or always be suspicious? Because he was proud of the fact. And I said, I'm not suspicious of my wife. I'm married for 28 years. Never a single day did I slap my wife, not a single day where we cursed at each other. We might disagree on things and I might walk away from the conversation to create cooling period and come back and actually ask permission to have that conversation back. And if she's not ready, we're not having it. I'm just gonna let it be until when she's ready, because people, when they're ambushed, and you take great pride when you're ambushing your partner, it doesn't help you. But when you're giving people time, they're prepared. They might not like to have the conversation, but when they're prepared, they're no longer reacting out of a defense, but they're having an agreement, a conversation that's mutual. I've applied that technique with my wife all the time, and she's doing the same thing with me. And therefore, we don't find ourselves in quarrel. And in fact, our relationship today is much healthier and more richer than ever before, simply because we recognize these things, and I apply them in my life every single day. And she is very much aware of them, and she's applying in her life, because at the end of the day, we want to be happy. We want to be productive. We want to live a meaningful life. We want to enjoy every aspect of our life. Does it always happen? But yet we know how to navigate them. Because when we recognize these problems, we are willing to work on them, and we're willing to invest in ourselves. If you're not willing to invest in yourself, you will continue to be in your miserable life because you're not willing to change. And change comes with investment. And investment is not only about monetary, it's about time. That's the key. So I laid out to John in that very simple words. And John was somewhat offended, but yet recognized the importance of it. Because I said, you've been wandering, calling people, you've gone to therapies and waste your time and money. And actually you've spent more money in all these things, and the pain have grown worse than you would have started working with me from the very beginning. So John eventually made a decision to buy a 12-week program. And in that program, I worked with him, and before even 12 weeks actually, John, I could hear in our group sessions, he was more comfortable. And actually he was a little bit more talkative and add stuff and share stuff. And as we went along, one day I allow sometimes when, if it's an emergency, you can give me a call. I mean, you can send me a message and I will call you. So one day John called me, sent a message and I called him. When I called him, John was very, very excited. He said, Alpha, I am so excited. I said, okay, let's hear. He said, you know what? My relationship with my wife actually got worse. But he said the strange things, before I took part of this cause, guess what happened? He said, I can't really guess, I want to hear. And he said, I've always been angry. When I noticed what she does, I got angrier. But he said, but this time, when things got worse, it didn't matter. Not because I didn't care. It didn't hurt anymore because I was not relating to her behavior. I still loved her. I would stay in the same house. But eventually she decided she wanted to move out. And he said, I gave her that permission. And she was surprised because I didn't do it with yelling. I didn't do it with shouting. I didn't curse her out. I gave her the permission. 3 days later, she returned. She begged because she went and stayed with a friend. 3 days later, he said she returned. She begged and cried, and she cried. He said she spent the whole day crying because she felt terrible, the kind of a person she had been. And of course, after that end of the day, she said they had a makeup sex, which was the best sex they've ever had in his entire marriage, according to John. And that changed everything. And as John was calling me, he said actually they've gone into vacation at the time. They're spending more quality time together. He actually ended up buying another package for her, and she's taking because I have another package for female, she's taking the same program so that they can all be on the same page. So Not only that, how his relationship have gotten better, his welfare, his health, his finances are getting better. He have more clarity in his mind, and life is much funner. He is having much more fun in life than ever before. And this is the key word he used. He said, Alpha, if I'd known this is possible and believed that it is, I would have taken this action a long time ago. He said, I cannot believe I've lived in a miserable life for quite some time while help was just around the corner. I just want to share that story for you, John's story, to inspire you, to encourage you. It's not about just getting my service. You might go and get this service from anywhere you feel comfortable getting it. But the longer you are waiting and sitting there and pondering on the fence, the harder it's going to get for you to come out of it. And it might cost you even more. Investment on self is key in order to receive the help you need and transform your life to where you want it to be. So I encourage you and challenge you, in fact, take action. Life is beautiful, and especially when you live and enjoy with somebody you love. Misery is not a place for men. Don't be miserable. And don't be so much conscious about this cost aspect. How much is your life, is your happiness worth? How much is your joy? Yes, your finances might seem to be difficult at this time, but if you take action, and one of the things we do in my coaching program is to be able to work with you, give you options and perspective that you can look and consider so that you can start learning how to actually invest on yourself. I'm telling you, I've been there. I've been as cheap as I could have been, trying to watch video on YouTube, trying to get these freebies everywhere in order to be able to match and put it together. It took me a year to put together my coaching program because simply I was not willing to spend money. But when I was ready to do so, I invested over $25,000 within a week. I didn't have that $25,000 sitting in the bank account, but I found it. And therefore I invested in myself because I didn't want to continue to be frustrated anymore. Keep researching and looking and piecing things and hearing so many people who are giving so many opinions. There are so many coaches who are coaching relationship. They have different approaches. I cannot knock one or the other. I've never been in them, so I don't know. But each and every one of them is trying to tell you something different. And that what is different, it's not that it's not working, it's just different. There are many paths to go to one destination. You have to sit down and choose and say, I'm going to commit to this program. I'm going to invest on myself, both timely and money, because your life demands of it and it's worth to you to have it. Don't wait 20 years like John did, especially when after having a conversation with me, it took him almost 6-7 months to him to do so. Don't wait for that long. Your life depends on it, and your future self will appreciate you. You want to book a call? Click the link below. Check my program. If not, look for the one that suits and fits you. Because I'm more concerned about you improving your life so that you can improve your relationship. Most people are running to improve their relationship and forget about themselves. And therefore they find back to where they began some point later. My coaching approach is I work with you so that you can become your best everywhere you go, whether it is in the current relationship or the one that it follows. But the choice is yours. Click the link below to book a call. Otherwise, look for a program that will suit you. Don't be like John, but be like John, who later decided, and this later is today. They say to plant it 25 years ago was the best time to plant a tree, but the next best time is today.